Hello, and welcome to the rundown. We have two significant news stories to discuss with you today. We'll talk about what we know and what we're sort of guessing at, and there's a lot of confusion about what's been going on, and or if any of it is connected. And as Andrew and I will both cover that with you. The first story we're going to talk about is a truck, a cyber truck. So I'm sorry, Ford F1. Sorry, getting them confused already. F-150, which went down Bourbon Street in New Orleans. It killed now a total of at least 15 people, wounded 35 people. It had two flags on it. One was an ISIS flag. The other was a Texas flag. The tags on the truck were from Texas. The driver got out with some form of rifle, engaged police officers. Two officers were injured. He was shot and killed. His name was 𝐒𝐚𝐦𝐚𝐫. He was 42. Now, there's been a lot of confusion as to whether or not he acted alone. As Andrew and I will discuss that at this point, the FBI is saying that they believe he did not. They did detain 4 people that they believed were associated with planting improvised explosives around New Orleans. We haven't seen anything that confirms that. We've seen conflicting reports from credible news sources saying that he had 4 IEDs and their detonators in his truck, and other sources that say he had 1 in his truck and 3 that had been distributed in coolers around New Orleans, and 4 people again had been detained in association with that, and were found not to be related. He could have placed those himself. Perhaps they're looking for somebody else, but if he was working with somebody else, I question why he would have the detonators himself as soon as he's dead. I don't know. We do know, what was it you had said, as Andrew, about his home in Houston?
There was a local news station, KPRC2, had a drone in the air over top of the suspect's home in Houston, and SWAT there took somebody into custody. He gave up without a fight, put his hands up, but they have video of it.
So, I'm going to say that I am of the opinion that there is nobody else. If there was anybody else associated with this, we have no evidence of it. We have one coincidence that we will get into. It's where he rented the truck. He rented it from Turo.com. The other act of terror, at least purported act of terror, also rented it on Turo.com. We'll get into that in a minute. But the 4 people detained were released, and to the best of my knowledge, nobody has made any credible suggestion that somebody else did this. The FBI has, at first, they just said, we're on the lookout in case there are other suspects. Then they actually claimed that there was a terrorist cell operating in New Orleans. They claimed this about 3 hours ago, and since then have said nothing more than they believe he did not act alone. All 3 of those claims are wildly different, and I think it's probably important to ascertain which one's accurate, but to the best of our knowledge right now, there's no evidence of a secondary actor. What can you tell us about his background, as Andrew?
He enlisted in the apparently had tried to enlist into the Navy in 2004, and then actually enlisted into the Army in 2006. He served for a decade in active duty, went to active reserve. He was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant, and he did one tour in Afghanistan. The story that I read said that he did something in clerical work. I believe that you had read another one talking about he was in some sort of HR or some related MOS. I'm not sure which exactly it was. It didn't state it.
He did HR and he did IT for a while. And then, so let's see, after that, did he receive an honorable or dishonorable discharge from the military?
It was honorable.
All right. So he went out of the military, and we'll talk about a few other things. Yeah, they are looking at the Airbnb. He stayed at an Airbnb. He actually traveled from Houston to New Orleans via this rented Ford F-150. He basically kept a video journal on his way up on his phone, talking about how much he would like to join ISIS. He really loved ISIS and all of these other things, praising ISIS. He claimed he was, in fact, a member of ISIS. And in one video, and then in a subsequent video, talked about how he would like to join ISIS. So I don't know how much credibility you want to put on these videos. The videos are dark. He seemed to be recording as he was driving in the middle of the night. We also know that he has a ex-wife and 2 children, and he gloated that he was going to kill them as well. Fortunately, he did not get around to that, but apparently he was thinking about it. Now,
he did have 2 ex-wives in the report that I read. He had been divorced twice now.
That is correct. He's 2 ex-wives, one of which I think he divorced, and the other, if I recall, left him, and had 2 kids. He was going to hold, quote, a celebration and use that as an opportunity to kill them. At least, again, that's what he reported on his cell phone. As he was driving from Houston to New Orleans, Donald J. Trump has been his usual helpful self, and written, quote, when I said that criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at the highest level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil. I really do despise, absolutely despise. I loathe saying anything that this man says. The reason is because we are an educational channel, and I don't like fucking lying. He has no idea what he's talking about, and it is very important. If the citizens of this country have decided in their infinite wisdom to elect him, that's fine. But let's at least agree on what it means when something is true. That means it comports with reality. This is the murder rates from the 1990s to this year. I believe it's this year. It's a little small for me to read. You can see there has been an uptick in murder.
2021.
2021? All right, thank you. So there is an uptick in murders, but that uptick is still significantly lower than the highest, and violent crime is very near an all-time low. This figure is from the FBI. By the way, you can find where all of this information is sourced from, and you can see significant declines in basically every kind of violence. Murder has gone up, but is still not anywhere near an all-time high. Vote. It's too late to change your vote, or for whoever voted for whatever reason, but dear God, can we at least admit when things are true? Speaking of, his complaint here is that the criminals coming into this country are worse than the criminals who were born here. 𝐒𝐚𝐦𝐚𝐫, 42 years old, was a U.S. citizen born in Houston, Texas. He did not immigrate. He was born here. 4 years of this. This is just the beginning. Oh, dear Lord. Anything else that we have missed that needs to be covered with this gentleman?
With this gentleman?
Yeah, with this one, yes.
As the investigation goes on, I'm sure we'll find out more information. I do kind of wish the former president and current president-elect would just engage his own damn memory. It's like, I'm not that old. Well, I like to say I'm not that old, but even I can remember the late 80s into the very early 90s. The concern of rising crime rates then was so pervasive that it melted and bled into popular culture. We had so many different movies that came out about how the end of the world was going to come about because of massive crime. There was going to be collapses of civilization. There were numerous movies, books, etc., written about this into the late 80s, because crime rates were just climbing and climbing and climbing. Then we hit the early to mid 90s, and it started to taper off. By the time we hit to the late 90s, there was a significant trend towards reduction, all the way up into the 2000s, and now into the 2020s. Violent crime has been dropping at unparalleled rates, seen pretty much anywhere. It's like it seems like people don't even quite understand just how much. It's like between 2004 and 2014, the crime rate, the murder rate was cut in half nearly, and nobody seemed to be aware of that. So I don't quite understand why he's got people to do this stuff for him. They should be aware.
He's deliberately lying. Of course they know. He's Jade 4D, Mad Max series. Yeah, exactly. And the Escape from New York, Escape from the whole. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, our culture was just steeped in the idea of violence, and it's a very different. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to point out was there was questions as to the security at New Orleans during the time of this. There were cement and rebar bollards that had been placed there to protect from this kind of thing happening. The city had removed them in order to replace them. The Sugar Bowl is, I believe, Thursday, and the ideal.
Postponed.
The ideal was to replace these bollards with steel ones that could be screwed in and out, so that you didn't have to take them down and wipe out all the bollards to replace them and do it as a permanent construction. You just do these screw-in ones, and I've seen them. I know what they're talking about. And if a bollard is damaged or you need to replace it, you just unscrew it and drop in a new one. So the bollards that had been there had been removed in preparation for increasing security for the Sugar Bowl. Having said that, apparently there was a device that had a history of failure that was supposed to stop the car. It went around it. The head of the New Orleans police chief said that he was able to circumvent their measures for stopping the vehicles. So that's what we know about the security. The new bollards are still, as my understanding, they plan on putting them in. It just so happened he hit at the right time to maximize what he could do. Although, as you had pointed out, I've seen Bourbon Street before. There was not nearly as many people there as I would have expected.
Well, I mean, it did happen at 3:30, so the bars should have been closing somewhere around 2. So I would imagine it was just the late night revelers that were still didn't want the night to end. But yeah, there is a video surveillance camera of the truck going down at a very high rate of speed, and I don't know if it's particularly relevant, but it was a Ford F-150 Lightning, an electric truck. And a lot of people, you can watch them. They were able to see it coming and get out of the way. They ran to the edges. He did stay remarkably centered down the street. Just from the videos that I've seen of it, it's the damage could have been significantly higher, but enough people heard the commotion and saw the truck coming with enough time to run to the edges of the streets. So it could have been a lot worse had he tried to do it 2 hours earlier.
So that brings us to the second one, and this one is an interesting one. We believe it is unrelated. The FBI has not yet said whether or not this person had accomplices. They do believe this was an act of terror. A Tesla was blown up outside of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Now, the reason this would be a terror act is, if you're targeting, if you're targeting civilians, if you're trying to destroy a hotel, especially one that's got the name of the president-elect on it. What we know so far, and then we will show you some footage of this, what we know so far is about an hour beforehand, he seemed to circle the hotel. He then went, an hour later, drove straight up to the front of the hotel and detonated with himself inside. The detonation appears to be gasoline and fireworks. You can actually hear the fireworks in one of the videos that we're going to show. So this is being categorized as a suicide bomb. He literally hooked it up to the inside so that it would, in fact, ignite the battery, on the thinking that the lithium would be catastrophic. So, having said that, let me see here if we can get this. Yeah, that's let's do that one again, because and you can see the fireworks. You can see a lot. Yeah, that's a big explosion. Any thoughts, Xandering?
I'm not sure why somebody would choose a Cybertruck to do this. Maybe they were trying to make some sort of statement. However, police did mention that the use of the Cybertruck actually minimized the damage that was done, because most of the explosion was directed upward through the roof. The bulletproof glass on the siding did not blow out. It didn't even blow the windows of the front of the lobby out. Most of the blast was directed straight up through the roof. So I guess.
Yay!
I'm just yeah.
Yeah, that's you feel.
He's not going to learn from his mistake, but I guess others will. Also, on a weird, unrelated note, apparently there is an unconfirmed going on in Las Vegas now. A unconfirmed report of a hostage situation ongoing right now in Las Vegas.
Dear Lord, all right. I will check on that. If anyone's got that on breaking, I'd appreciate it. And we'll get to that in a second. You can see the windows and the doors are all intact. There was one person killed in this, the driver. That's it. To the best of my knowledge, as of this moment, no injuries were reported. I mean, you'd think he'd drive it through. If you're going to kill yourself, I don't, and I'm not trying to be morbid or anything like that. This isn't a joke. I'm just, it's being seen as an act of terror. He could have done a lot more damage with it if he had driven into the building. People who maybe he's gotten, I don't know. It's brand new. We don't know what. Now, a lot's been made of the fact that car was also rented on Turo as well. I don't see any way that connection. What was the example that you would give? You gave a great example.
A great example of what? Sorry, I was reading on this developing story.
I'll let you read on that. We were speaking earlier, and he had mentioned that it's sort of like if you have two separate attacks and each of them stayed in a Airbnb or in a Hilton or something. Hilton's the largest hotel. If they're going to stay somewhere, or if they both stay in an Airbnb, each in a different one, it doesn't mean that they're connected. So. Well, as I said, I am still very suspicious of the notion that Didn't Jabbar had done anything but act alone. I've seen no evidence of it, but the FBI maintains, and again, the FBI had said that there was a terrorist cell operating in New Orleans. They had claimed that there were 3 devices that were found. These were essentially pipe bombs built with nails. But I've seen several reports that confirm it and several reports that refute it and say that all of those bombs did exist, but they were in his truck, and that's where they were found, in a water cooler in his truck. So it's obviously a rapidly evolving situation. If they were placed around, I can see why they might think that he was having help, but there's no way he intended to survive this. None. He knew this was going to be his last act on Earth. I have to believe anybody working with him would have known that as well. So why haven't they done something? So I don't know. We may find out that I'm dead wrong. This is speculation, but that's just my view. Is there's enough mayhem over there about what really happened. I haven't seen any credible evidence that there's a terrorist cell or that he was doing anything but acting alone. We did say, and actually, we should probably end up changing the title because it says terrorist cell confirmed in New Orleans, and the FBI did say it. So when we wrote the title, if the FBI say it, we're going to say it's confirmed. But as of this moment, I have no reason to believe it. So, we try to make sure we bring to you what we have when we've got it. So, and as accurately as possible. I am going to need to divert my attention for a minute. So what I will do is I will pass it to 𝐒𝐶andering. Before I do that, we did not play the footage from the attack in New Orleans. We do often have that footage, and we may, in this case, I haven't checked, available to anybody who wants to see it on our Discord in the explicit section. We do that for a number of reasons. We've done that with Ukraine. We don't show it if we don't have to. On occasion with Ukraine or a war zone, we show it, and the reason is I think all of us believe that people who vote and people who make the decisions about, especially other people going to war, should have some idea what a war actually looks like. And it's not pleasant, and we shouldn't all have to live our lives with that in our faces. In fact, that's the goal, is world peace, and nobody ever has to worry about it. But having said that, since we're not there, and anyone who can vote has some say in when our armies go to war, it's worth at least being aware what it looks like. So come join us on the Discord if you want to learn more about either of these. If there is an update that we have to do for whatever reason, a significant change, we will do a show again. But here we are on the first, covering both of these issues because there was enough strange cross information going around that we thought it was worth getting into. Also, we do get demonetized quite often. This one, 50-50, I don't know. When we talk about violence, which we've talked about today, when we talk about suicide bombing, which we've said today. You'll note when you go on other channels, they say the R word, or they use euphemisms. They do that because they get demonetized if they don't. In Time does not do that. We do not believe we can properly educate our audience using euphemisms. So super chats, donations, members, we appreciate all of that. And if you can't or choose not to for whatever reason, we respect that as well. But then if you could at least share our content with somebody who you think may enjoy it, that helps us out a lot. We do hope to see you on the Discord. I'm now going to pass things off to 𝐒𝐶andering and see what he knows so far, as I also try to get caught up. There are several reports of a standoff in Las Vegas at this point. Well, I don't know. 𝐒𝐶andering, what have you got?
We got a whole bunch of reports of a large law enforcement response on Fremont Street in Las Vegas, reported hostage situation. So far, that's exactly what we have. I don't know if this has any relation to the Tesla explosion. Generally, I guess you could say that a suicide bomber could potentially have accomplices in that they helped build some of the explosive devices that they may be using to send them off on his merry way. However, in the U.S., that hasn't really been shown to be true. Most, if there's somebody goes and commits suicide and trying to blow something up, they're usually acting alone. Once the investigation moves along, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more information, but it's still very early. All of this stuff happened today, so we're starting off 2025 with a bang.
Oh, no.
I tried really hard not
Did you
to
have
phrase
to
it that
did
way.
you,
However, that is, we like to call things the way that they are. We don't like to use euphemisms. We like to describe things by what they actually are. And the beginning of 2025 has gone off with a bang.
Okay, so here's the deal. So I'm going to say what we've got. We do have. No, was that? All right. So here's what we're going to do.
It appears from the pictures, from the pictures that have been posted. Now, I'm not. It's showing a whole bunch. There's a video with a whole bunch of police reporting or blocking off. It appears to be like a Chevron gas station.
Yep.
So no, it's not the Trump Hotel.
And Las Vegas. Okay.
From what I can tell, it's very unlikely to be related to the.
Yeah, and I mean these kind of things happen every day in every state in the union. So we are obviously extra sensitive to it because we think it could be related, and it could. I remember distinctly. I live in Boston. I remember when there was several shootouts shortly after the Marathon bombing, and we're all like, that's got to be related. And indeed it was. So it could be related. It may also not be. This stuff happens. Hold on a second. So, yeah, we're getting a few different reports from more and more credible sources, including the police departments. But I think at this point we are not going to cover it unless it requires. I mean, we're obviously going to learn more. Come join us on the Discord, and you can stay with the Breaking News channel. Keep up with it as we learn more. And if for some reason we believe you need to know more or something different than what you may be getting from mainstream media, we will bring it to you. But at present, I don't see that. Ember, member for 3 months, who had said earlier too, it's sort of like I always, when I see my doctor, I shake his hand as I'm on my way out the door, and he goes, "Oh, it was good to see you." And I was just like, "Yeah, I hope I don't have to see you again for a long time." So Ember was like, "It's nice to see Nick streaming." Then again, you're like, "Oh shoot, something really bad has probably happened," and you're going to see more of Trump's tweets coming up. Oh, God, I really thought I'd never have to. So Ember. Damn it, Isandering, that joke was, oh God, no, I'm not even going to say that. Thank you, but no. If this were downtime, that would be one thing, but it was clever. It was clever. We'll leave the puns to Titan. No, that's a bad idea too. At any rate, all right, any final thoughts? Did we miss anything? I think we've got everything. The hostage situation.
We've got all the information that we know of. The situation ongoing right now. We don't have. I mean, it literally just popped up while we were streaming. I was looking for some more information, and that thing suddenly popped up on some of the news sources that I follow on Twitter. So that was the only reason I mentioned it, because we are already live and we were already covering an incident happening in Las Vegas. I think we've hit pretty much all of the high points. More things are going to come out as investigations continue. It's always difficult to be really early with a lot of this stuff. That was, I think, one of the reasons why we held off a bit on the New Orleans terror attack. We didn't have a lot of information for quite a while, other than it happened, and a lot of stuff has changed over the day, and we've gotten a bit more information. So we finally had enough to be able to at least give you a rundown of what actually happened. And and we're going to have to give the investigations more time to figure out any more information.
Yep, and with that, we got a quick let's see. Michelle's. It's the dyslexia. Sometimes it just my brain refuses to read it properly. Happy New Year as a subscriber. Remember 2 months. Terracell confirmed. Can you explain that? We've already explained it. I will explain it one more time in a second. Sinister Porpoise, $2. May recursion jokes call back to the ones in 2024. Michael Westby, member for 33 months. Wow, with a smiley face. So yeah, just to clarify, and we should probably change the title. I hate changing the title because it was accurate when we wrote it, but it's not. We don't know. The FBI confirmed. So when the attack in New Orleans happened, the FBI said that they were looking for other individuals just in case. They were keeping an eye out for other suspects. They then upgraded that to saying they believed there were other people involved in the attacks. They detained 4 people, 1 woman, 3 men, for placing bombs in various areas in New Orleans. At least that's what they were detained for. Follow me so far. We don't know at this moment that the bombs were real. At any rate, the FBI then said that there was a terrorist cell working in New Orleans. They interrogated all 4 people and determined that none of them had anything to do with the attack or any explosive devices. At this point in time, cannot confirm that those devices were placed in various areas in New Orleans or were all in his car. We have 2 different stories that we have both from reputable sources. They've been repeated by different sources, including Reuters, Associated Press, Washington Post, and a couple of local newspapers, LA Times, stuff like that. Not LA Times. What was the one? Anyways, and the 2 versions are as follows. A, he had 1 explosive device in his vehicle, and 3 others have been found. They were pipe bombs with nails found throughout New Orleans. And they're looking for the people who placed them and or who have those detonators. That's the first story. The second story is that he had 4 homemade pipe bombs of the same nature, nails, so on and so forth, in his car, and he had the detonators to all of them. Neither of those stories make a huge amount of sense, but at least the first one would explain why they're looking for other culprits. Why would he have all the detonators with him if he expects to get shot and killed, which he had to know would happen? So we don't know. As of when this was written, and when it was literally moments after the FBI said there's a terror cell in New Orleans. They have now walked that back, but they still believe that he had accomplices. So as of this point, it has been walked back to they are looking for accomplices. That's all. That's what we got. So I'll update the title right now because I don't want that to stay out like that. That's what it was when it was written. Hopefully that makes sense. I think we're good. So unless I missed any last minute things, yeah, that's what it reminded me. Yeah, is entering. We good?
I'll leave us with our beloved words of our future leader and enslaver, Elon Musk. I shouldn't say that. I don't know how I feel about Elon yet. However, he couldn't wait to capitalize on the police reporting of the choice of vehicle for the bombing. Elon decided to post on X, "The evil knuckleheads picked the wrong vehicle for a terrorist attack. Cybertruck actually contained the explosion and directed the blast upwards. Not even the glass doors of the lobby were broken." So happy that he's concerned about promoting his Cybertruck.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but if as you would point out, that seems to be the working theory. So if it is, congratulations, Elon actually did something right. I think that comes after the sixth seal on the coming apocalypse. Elon Musk does something right, and lo and behold, I don't remember. Anyways, thank you all for joining us, and join us on the Discord to stay up with what's going on with that hostage situation. And we will be back downtime tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Commander McMillan, and in time next week, Tuesday, and we will do another rundown or breaking news if and when it is necessary. Have a good evening, everyone, and have a happy New Year.